is really where the class activities and the physical activities within the after-school program really take place to help those children combat the negative influences in their lives. Data collection actually starts in week one within the school, to where we gauge if the children have taken in or consumed the information that we have given them to change their lives. And this is where the surveys and the evaluation period actually starts, with both observational and survey-based evaluation. So after this, week 10 will be the actual evaluation period, where we'll take all the data we collected and see how we can refine the program to make it a better program to combat these negative influences on a higher level, not only just within one inner city, but within many inner cities in that environment. There are two main goals of this intervention. The first one set up here is that we want to essentially increase the physical activity in children within inner city environment while decreasing the obesity prevalence. Some ways we can do this is by increasing the physical activity to at least 60 minutes, and this can be done within the physical aspect of the after-school programs. We can also do this by decreasing the negative outcomes in personal life, and the way we know this is by the surveys, and when they turn them in, the data we collect from that will gauge how we had an impact on their family lives and the negative influences. The third way to do this is we want to essentially decrease children's obesity within the attended population by 5%. So if there are 100 children within this after-school program, we want to decrease the obesity prevalence by at least 5 children. This will help combat those negative health behaviors on more of a higher level once we branch out into more communities. The second goal is to increase the positive influence in inner city areas through the intervention. The ways we can do this is by increasing the number and frequency of the teaching sessions we have within the curriculum-based aspect of the after-school programs to at least 2 times a day. The second way we do this is having the number of negative influences drop by at least 40% within the evaluation period. And we will know this by the surveys and data collection and seeing how we had an impact on their lives and the environment's life. The budget shown here is, with this being an intervention, a nonprofit organization, the intervention can get funding through grants and aid and different scholarship programs that aid in non-scholarship programs, or non-profit organizations. First at the top, we look at the program director salary. There will be 3 program directors, so that will be added within that range of that cost of range. After that is the incentives. This will be T-shirts and party gear for the cookouts and trash pickups. We also have supplies and activities for building, which will be the positive influences on these communities. So this will be the things like the trash pickups or the park building, and the painting within the community is to help decrease the negative influences and have more of a positive feel within the communities. After this is advertisement and publication. We look to do this with posters of videos, commercials, and newsletters. After this is the actual workshops, and this is the after-school programs, the building rental, and the actual educational effects. And all this stuff comes out to a total of around $80,000, which sounds like a lot, but with all the grants, the grants and the nonprofit organizational help, I feel like we can produce the amount of money to help us get our intervention off the ground, not only in our community, but in many communities as well. The evaluation aspect of this intervention, what you see here is the surveys that we sent to the homes. The first one is the pre-test survey, and it has 5 questions asked on a scale of a strongly agree to a strongly disagree. The first question is asking if their area is seen as a dangerous area. This is if the community sees that place as an area where they can't let their children outside, this would be strongly agreed upon as a dangerous area. The second one is it's difficult to do physical activity or fun activities outside of or where you reside. The third one is your house. If does your household practice healthy eating habits, and this is getting more into the healthy behaviors. And the next one is does your household practice healthy activity habits, and this is asking if physical activity is prevalent within their household with their children. And lastly is if they are interested in developing more of a healthy life for their family. So the pretest really looks to engage actually where the families are and their thought process. After that, with the post-test survey, we only look to change 2 questions. The last 3 questions stay the same with the healthy eating, the healthy activity, and look to develop healthier lifestyle habits for the family. The first 2 change to if the intervention interested you or your family. So this helps us gauge if it had an influence on both family life and the child's life. The second one is more child-based, to where if they actually had better healthy eating habits or healthy habits in general. And this helps to see if the knowledge was absorbed for not just the children but the families to take charge and change their healthy eating habits or healthy behavior habits. So with these 2 surveys, we can really gauge if we've had an influence on the children and the families. Within the program, we have a survey for you stakeholders as well. There are a certain amount of questions that from strongly agree to strongly disagree that will help us see if we're actually doing these things to run the program in a smooth way and in a way that will impact these children's lives and these family lives in such a way to where they look to change their behaviors. We can do this not only afterwards, but we can go through these questions and evaluate the intervention as it's going on. We look at if the participants are satisfied with the project. This is if they are satisfied with the curriculum that they are absorbing, if the topics are relevant, if we're teaching the right things, if the staff is interested and approachable. Because if our staff is not in line or want to be there, then the children will not want to be there or change. Are the venue locations or facilities suitable for what we're trying to do? Are all activities and projects being implemented? Are the projects being implemented as planned? Are we following our plan of action to move this intervention in a smooth way? Are there adjustments need to be made? The materials components of the program are of good quality. The materials are suitable for the target group, the adolescents and the families, and the participants are seeing progress effectively throughout the program. And with all these questions, we want to ask why, or if this is actually happening. So this gives us a set area to look at when we look to change our intervention, or if we have to change it at all. So we may make the changes if we need to. And while we're going through the evaluation process, we can go back to our goals and objectives and look at indicators to make sure we're doing this along the way. So some indicators for the first goal, which is increased physical activity in children in the inner city while decreasing the obesity prevalence. Some indicators we can see is if physical activity is prevalent in the program. So if we have that physical activity to at least 60 minutes a day, then it is prevalent in the program. It's a positive influence done throughout the program. We look at this as, are we teaching them a positive influence to combat the negative influences within their lives? Are posters, videos, and all the positive educational influences prevalent within the school environment? And are we having good attendance numbers? Because if we aren't having good attendance numbers, then we essentially aren't doing our job to branch out into the community and make more of a positive impact. Within data collection of this goal, we could have spreadsheets and data sheets of attendance and attendees as to where our numbers are and if we have a suitable number to make a positive impact. And we'll have attendance sign-in sheets that are keeping track of attendance of each child, because if a child comes one day and then doesn't come back for 5 days, then he has missed 5 days of material to where he could be making more of an impact with those 5 days of information, whereas he's not getting them. So we really want to keep track of the attendance of the people coming within the program. And lastly, the survey data before and after with the pre-test and post-test will actually help us gauge the impact we're having on our lives. Within the second one, the increased positive influence in our cities through intervention. Do we have the posters of videos prevalent in the school programs just like with the other goal? Is positive influence done throughout the program within the environment? And the survey on physical activity and obesity influences, are they residing within that area? So are these the positive influences having an impact on the health behaviors is what this is looking at. And we can see this by having spreadsheet on attendees and their progress, as well as before and after surveys. Some changes that need to be made within this intervention. Hopefully we do not need any changes within this intervention, but we always